And we're live.
Hey, we got a visitor.
Who's joining us?
It's Lee Drew. How are you guys tonight?
Hey, Lee, good.
Good.
How are you?
Where are you at on the globe?
I'm in Utah County, not far across the lake in Kevia.
I've heard of that.
I've actually moved. I don't live up there
Heavy
anymore.
got out of town.
You're not there anymore, huh?
Yeah, but
Well, that camera keeps wanting to move on me. I don't know what's happened to it. Sorry about that.
As long as we can hear you. So, cool. Well, we're just getting our, wanting to get our names up here, so what's the effect that does that?
I don't even know. There's some app for it.
Yeah, I thought I had it downloaded. So, well, it's not important. We know who each other are. So,
Yeah.
cool. So, you been following some of the Mormon Life Hacker?
Yeah, all the time.
Nice. Have you got at least one fan? I knew you count me as two, I guess. But
He's got a lot of fans.
that's right.
All you folks do.
Well, I just thought, Tim, if you want to start out, maybe tell us a little bit about how Mormon Life Hacker came to be. Obviously, it's kind of a build off of the lifehacker.com, which is extremely famous, and but focusing in on the LDS community and hacks and you can do in the church and so forth. And maybe elaborate on that, give us some background of yourself and so forth.
Sure, yeah. It kind of started when I read the book, The 4-Hour Workweek, that I think a lot of people, it's a fairly famous book.
Yeah.
And just the whole, I won't say that it's like the best book ever, but it definitely opened my eyes to kind of looking at life and things differently than maybe we tend to naturally. And so from there, I started kind of researching online, and I'd seen Lifehacker before. People had shared links with me and stuff like that, and it was usually good stuff I was interested in, but it wasn't until I read the 4-Hour Workweek that I kind of looked at it more as, something that you incorporate into your life on a bigger level where you can really, start to rethink things, or at least make sure that the way that you are thinking about them is the right way or the best way to do things. And so after a while, my brother said, "Hey, is there a way to pay your tithing online?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I've never heard of one, but I'd sure like to know, if there is."
I think every member of the church has asked themselves that. At least they know how to run a computer, right? They're like, every time my whole checkbook is like full of, all it says is like my ward name on every check, because that's all I use my checkbook for.
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to know. So he researched it and found it, and we actually posted it on a different blog that I was doing at the time. That was just it's a doctrinal blog. It's more about the doctrines of the gospel, and it became pretty popular on there pretty quick. And I said, there's got to be more stuff like this, ways that we, the people are looking for a better way to do stuff in the church that is life hacker type stuff, but it's unique to Mormons and Mormonism. And I looked around, and all I found was this one blog called Mormon Hacker. And I eventually was able to get in contact with the guy who had written it, and he'd written it like he'd blogged like every other day for like 3 months solid, and then nothing for like 3 years. And so I got in contact with him, and I was able to, he just turned it over to me. He said, "Sure, take it, do what you want with it." And so we took that, which was a blogger blog, and we moved it over and to the domain mormonlifehacker.com. And the reason, I'll be totally honest, I'm not in love with the name Mormon Life Hacker, but Mormon Hacker to me could have too much of a negative connotation for a lot of people, and I didn't want to drive those people away. On the other hand, I didn't want to sound like we were just a copy of Life Hacker. But but I couldn't come up with a better name. So Mormon Life Hacker it is, and that's what we've gone with ever since. And, and that tithing article was like kind of the first article on the new blog, and has continued to be by far the most popular article.
Yeah, it was like the perfect kickoff article to Mormon Life Hacker because it generates so much attention. I think it's still your most popular hack that you put up there, right?
Yeah, by far. And even now with a warning on there that says, hey, the church doesn't want you to do this quite like this.
Right.
People still look at it and love it. And
right.
I actually need to write an update to it because the church has given me some more info and stuff.
You still got your membership, right? This is...
Yeah, I didn't get in trouble. It's just those people that that are processing all the bill paychecks that are coming in we're getting a little overwhelmed, and they didn't like it very much.
Cool. Right on. And you mentioned to me the other day that it kind of becomes, if you pay it that way, your bishop kind of looks at you cross-eyed during tithing settlement because there's no record to the ward as far as what you pay, and so you promise him that you're full tithe payer, but he just has to go on your word, I guess.
Yeah, well, it totally depends on your bishop. My bishop a year ago was not liking it too much, and my current bishop, he's like, heck, I don't care. You don't have to show me anything as long if you say you're a full tithe payer, then you are.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on your bishop, and you might want to check with him if you do it that way, about whether he'd like to see some records. I also found out that the church does encourage it for some of the very wealthy and stuff who maybe don't want their local ward to know for this reason or that.
Yeah.
And so it is acceptable for those kinds of things as well.
Right on. Cool. Looks like Patrick's here. How are you, Patrick? I think you're on mute. You guys hearing him?
Yeah, I don't hear him. Let me see if you're not on mute on our end, so it's something on your end.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep. There you go.
Yeah, my kids like to play with my machine.
Cool. Right on. Well, just for obviously we've got a good introduction to Tevi. He's the Mormon Life Hacker and kind of runs the site, manages it. And for full disclosure, I guess that's how me and Tevi met, was through. I remember my brother first told me about your tithing article, and then I started emailing you about, as I was starting up my blog, Leading LDS, and getting some tips and things from you. And now me and Tevi are in business together and full-time business partners, so it's worked out. Talk about a life hack, right? So, so I run a blog called Leading LDS. That's kind of, at times it is a hack site for leaders in the LDS church, but different strategies, or some very basic, but some more intense as far as with communication or whatever. But really, it's kind of just a resource for people to learn more. Just a resource for leaders to go to collaborate with others or share ideas and so forth. So, and then
if you don't mind, and maybe at some point we'll get some feedback here from Lee and Patrick, what they think. But that's one thing I've thought a lot about, is I feel like Leading LDS is largely, life hacking, but it's specifically for leadership and teaching and things like that. And so we've thought about ways to try to incorporate that more without just reposting everything that Kurt posts over there. And there's half a dozen other blogs I could name off the top of my head too that I feel that way about. But I don't know, what's the best way to help them get exposure and to bring that all together. So
yeah, for sure.
Maybe we can talk about that a little later.
Yeah. Lee, what's your experience with Mormon Life Hacker? Anything specific or anything you write about online? Or?
Uh-oh, now I can't hear you, Lee.
Hey, Lee, you're on mute or something.
There we go.
Oh, there you
go. There we go. Yeah, I read Lifehacker all the time. All of the articles are there. I implement some of the things that are there that work for our lives. You talked about the tithing. Well, there you go. There's the forms.
Great.
I need to get them filled out. It's a tithing settlement today, and told my bishop he won't be seeing me sending a lot of checks into him anymore either. So
Yeah.
using the tools that are there. I'm a missionary. I support Family Search Wiki. And so I spend a lot of time there, and I use your articles when I'm helping other missionaries and the different folks around the world. I'll point them to your articles, actually, on some of the questions that come up just in our chat sessions. So it's nice from that standpoint to have somewhere to point people to an article that has meaning and has value and is actually accurate. So that's very nice from that standpoint. The rest of it, I just have our family read your articles as they apply to our families. I'm aware of it, and we all enjoyed the life hacking postings that you have there. Thank you.
Great.
Cool. All right, anything for me, Patrick? You've been experienced in Mormon Life Hacker.
I just enjoy reading it. I mean, I think it's a good, kind of partner with the normal hacker, Life Hacker series, specifically for us within the LDS faith. So I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed everything you guys have shared so far.
Good. Great. Well, Tevi, let's maybe go through some of these. You talked a little about the pay your tithing one, and the churches, different people in the church have contacted you and said maybe tweak it or put this warning as far as we don't want everybody in the church doing it yet, but it seems like they're maybe moving in that direction. Hopefully for everybody. But the most recent hack you posted was the 12 Days of Christ, right? Is that kind of a family thing you're doing?
Yeah, that's actually my brother posted that.
Oh, that's Travis. Okay.
And yeah, that was his idea. He's the architect behind that, but I thought it was just an excellent idea, and one that hasn't gotten any comments yet. So I'm not really sure how other people feel about it, but our family's sure excited to start it here in not too many more days. If you haven't read it yet, I did kind of advertise that we'll be covering some of these articles so that people don't have to read them if they don't want to. The 12 Days of Christ is just the idea that those same 12 days that you might do the 12 days of Christmas for somebody, that each night you have some sort of a family devotional where a different member of the family shares something about Christ, whether it just be their own personal testimony or a story that helps strengthen their faith in Christ, or something along those lines. And yeah, I'm just really excited about this year to do something that way. And the other thing was we won't all be in one place at the same time for those days, so you could use a Google Hangout just like what we're doing right here, and meet with your family online and do that devotional each night.
Cool, right on. And then the next one that Travis did before that, I guess, is that's gotten a lot of attention. Looks like it's your second most popular one behind the tithing online. About are there problem points in temple prep? And this is a lot of people commented about this, and I guess the idea is with your sister's about to go on a mission or through the temple, and he addresses temple prep as being, is it really much of a preparation for entering the temple and so forth, and a lot of people wrote some good thick paragraphs in this. What was your impression on that, Taylor?
Well, I've felt that way for a long time, that there are some deficiencies in the way we handle this, and so it was really great to see that feedback and to kind of get those pointers and tips, and it's something that my brother and I will be working more on. I know Bryce Haymond, who's done the Temple Study Hangouts and does the TempleStudy.com blog. I know he's trying to help with that as well, just trying to help people understand what they can and can't talk about, right, and how to better prepare people. Liam, Pat, I don't know if you guys have thoughts on either of these two articles or would like to add anything. I don't know.
I can speak up first on that. You guys are young enough. I grew up in a very different generation than you, so everything that's talked about now is totally different than it was when I was that age. We didn't talk about anything. You didn't. You learned about it when you showed up and at the temple. And so I'm just glad to have everything we've got there. Of course, I never allowed that to happen to my children when they were that age and going to the temple. I had them prepared for it. But I'm glad to see that they are addressing the issues that are there. And it's a sensitive issue. There's some issues that you could get off on a tangent if you're not careful and say the wrong things. But yeah,
Sure.
at least explain it wrong. But I'm glad to see that there's a lot of interest in it and comments here. Especially right now with all the new missionaries going through, it has to be a lot of conversations going on along this line right now.
Yeah, there's influx in all areas of the church right now with that announcement. So, you know, and I guess it's kind of depending on the personality. I'm the type of person that I found this in both my work life and just in general, where I just am the type that likes to get thrown in the middle of things and figure it as I go. And so I remember my first time just being, you know, a bit confused or caught off guard a little bit, but you know, I almost preferred it that way. And I did get some counsel beforehand and took a temple prep class, but I did remember thinking, man, I don't get why I necessarily took that temple prep. It's not really tying in here or there, but anyways, I guess it's the type of personality they are that I just like to get thrown in and figure it out as I go. So cool. And it looks like we got Sheila here with us. How are you, Sheila?
Good.
Good. Glad to have you.
I crashed the party.
Hey, that's what it's here for. So
Except for who is leading LDS? There's got to be a name behind the face.
that's me.
Who's
So
me?
I'm Kurt. Sorry,
Kurt.
Kurt Frankham.
Oh, okay.
I should have done my personal one, but I was just joined in for that. So it works. We're all here. And then the next one before that I actually wrote this one. I was in a different church building in my stake, and I went up. You know, it's typical to see this time of year bishops having their you know, the list where they can sign in for tithing settlement. And I went up to this door and I looked at this tear-off schedule. I'm like, that's brilliant because what's that?
I have something to say about that.
Oh, sure. Let's hear it.
Yeah, that tear-off sheet was a hit with my ward.
Oh, cool.
Were you the one that created it?
Well, I didn't.
Somebody.
It wasn't my original idea, but I did put it on Mormon Lifehacker. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know whose idea it was, but it was a hit with our ward.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And I'm actually currently serving as bishop right now, and I kept seeing people before this go up to the door and like put their name down, and then they're like trying to get their schedule out and write it down, but now they can just tear it off. And yeah, I did post it probably a little late with tithing settlement starting on the 15th of November, but nonetheless, I think it's a great hack to have up there for years to come. So cool. And then the post about Asana. This is are most of you familiar with what Asana is? I would guess maybe not.
Yeah.
Usana? Usana?
No, Asana. ASANA.
No.
So basically, it's a project management software that's free online. And Kev and I, that we work together, like I mentioned before, and we use this daily. I mean, we're in Asana more than we're in our email or anything else. And it's basically just a way to organize projects and then assign people to it and so forth. And it's got a natural fit with, you know, as leaders and bishoprics or whatever are trying to, you know, organize everything from a Christmas party to maybe you know, potential callings and things. So Debbie, this is kind of your baby with the saunas. Anything you want to add there?
Well, just that when I wrote that, it was all kind of theoretical. I'm not in any leadership callings at the moment. I teach the Sunbeams, and
we're all leaders, Ted. We're all leaders.
I know. I enjoy it, but I don't have, you know, a presidency or a council to say, hey, we're going to use this. But it's funny because Jeff Van Drimmelen ran another blog that's in a similar vein to Mormon Lifehacker called Mormon Techie. And him and Kurt and I have all gotten to know each other a little bit over time over the internet. Well, he's a bishop as well. And after Kurt and I started using Asana a lot, somewhere I mentioned it to him. I don't even remember doing it. But he commented, and then he also emailed me and said, "Hey, I started using this way back when you mentioned it in my ward, and it's awesome. Like we're just using it like crazy all over the place." So he's already been doing it, and I asked him, can we get you to give a little more insight since you've actually been using it in your ward? And he said he'll try sometime in the future when he has time. He's very busy right now, but
Yeah, I
it does
canceled.
work in practice.
I canceled word council because we just use Asana. I'm just kidding. We didn't really. But yeah, it makes it very efficient to just organize and assign things to people, and then there's no doubt who's doing what, and it's got dates. You can assign due dates, and so it pops up on them if it's not done or whatever. So great resource. I mean, we could write books and books about Asana if we had to. But,
yes.
Quite in depth.
So Lee, when are you gonna make Family Search start using it?
Hey, that'd be nice. In fact, I was just looking at my account as we're talking here, and I keep a list of my own projects there. I misunderstood what you said originally as far as the title goes, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I use it for our team, at least for assignments that I have on our team, so I use it there from our group.
Cool.
One of the questions I've had, though, and I haven't looked for this, and I should, is I keep forgetting to look to see if there was an iOS or an Android version that we could download to our devices or tablets and whatnot and use this on. Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, there is an iOS app, and there's a third-party Android app actually that I just learned about like 2 days ago, and I just downloaded it and started using it. It's in beta, so the more people that use it and give him feedback, the better it'll get, I'm sure. But yeah, there is an official iOS one, and then there's a third-party Android one.
Great, thank you.
And every time they pop up every once in a while and ask for a survey of the service, and then ask Dan any suggestions, and I always put I need an Android app. Like I use it, just gotta have it. So, anyways, the next one I thought this was probably one of my top favorite Mormon life hacks because it was like an eye opener for me. Today I actually was stepping in for a teacher for gospel doctrine, and my whole week planning up to this, I was thinking I'm going to use this hack. But as I got to and as I was preparing my lesson, I realized, well, I don't want to use it just for the sake of using it. If it doesn't fit, then there's no reason to force it. But this I think does two things. One, you always have the Sunday school teacher, someone passing out the slips before class with the numbered slips, and they ask to read a quote or whatever it is. But which is fine, but sometimes people fall asleep or whatever. But the other reason is if you go into any elders quorum, you got about 3/4 of the eyes on their smartphone, and you just hope that they're looking at the manual. But if they're, more likely they're playing Brick Breaker or whatever on it. So this helps people stay engaged on their on the lesson and so forth. And so basically it's just a way of creating a PowerPoint for your lesson and then giving people a short link to tune in to pull it up on their phones and follow it. And man, I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do with that. But anything to add on that one?
I guess I'm sorry. I guess I'm doing a lot of the talking here and answering back. I'm sorry about that. We have our oldest son and his wife teach Sunday school class, the older children in Sunday school, and of course most of them have devices now also, and they teach a lot of their lessons using this. The others that are teaching, like you, the elders group, and another is in high council, and he's streamed everything to his high council meetings this way as well now. So and that was all based on your article. I read that and I thought, hey, this is great. By the way, I passed it on to our missionary group, and about 5 of the folks in there that are teachers are doing the same thing now. So great idea. Thank you.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, I love that one. So awesome.
Yeah, that one was actually from my brother Travis again. He started doing it he's a Elders Quorum secretary, and so he implemented that right away. For those who may not have read it, it's just, I think Kurt maybe mentioned it already.
I elaborate a little bit on it, but
okay. Yeah, I'd shown it on the screen here. Just the idea that you put a presentation online, you can just have them go to a real short URL, and they can all see their the presentation right on their phone rather than trying to mess with a projector or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Next, maybe let's skip back a little bit. Debbie, I'm going to skip to the Tell Your Bishop Anything one. That's one you wrote, and then I commented on. This one kind of became quite controversial for some of the readers. You know, they didn't necessarily like the idea, but coming from myself, from a bishop's perspective, I guess I'm of the thought of there's already thoughts and talk out there in the ward, like why not open a door and give an opportunity to get back to you rather than not ever receiving it and not knowing about it. So just to summarize, if you haven't read this one, but basically it's a service called Tell Your Boss Anything, where you can send an email to a boss or somebody you work with, and they'll never know who it's from, but it still gets them the information they need and maybe helps them take the criticism or guidance a little bit easier, and then you don't have any fallback on you. And so we just taken that, and Tevi applied it to the church setting of telling your bishop anything. And some people kind of thought that was maybe not the most appropriate way to go about things, but I don't know. Any thoughts out there about this service, and if you'd ever use it, or what do you think?
I didn't read it, but, you know, tell your bishop everything?
Well,
not everything.
Anything, not everything.
Well, yeah, this isn't. Yeah, let's be clear. This isn't an avenue to maybe for transgressions or anything like that. This is like, hey, your fly's down every Sunday. You know, why don't you check that out? Type of thing. So, anyways, and there's there's always a culture that forms in a ward, and sometimes that culture becomes more dominant than the ward itself, and so it's one role of that leader is to make sure he's stepping in, diffusing a lot of maybe if there's gossip or rumors going around, and this would give an opportunity for someone to say, well, I don't necessarily want to be the guy that steps up and points fingers or whatnot, but I think this information is important for my bishop to know, regardless if it's about him or not, and so I'm going to send this to him, and he'll never know it's me, but it'll still give him an opportunity to approach this.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, I just had my tithing settlement with the bishop today, and he sat and asked me how I was doing and how I was doing in my calling, and how my husband thought about his new calling that he just got, and then we sat and talked about a few other things, and so I thought that was cool. And you know, I brought up a few key points that he didn't even know, and so he thanked me for that.
Cool.
So.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got, Tabby? That takes us to the beginning of November, so that's kind of the last month. Any others, apart from the tithing one, Tabby, that kind of been a popular one that would be worth addressing? Or
not that come to mind real, stand out real big, but maybe we could ask if anybody else in the Hangout, I don't know, had something in mind that came to mind when they heard about this Hangout, or anything they'd like to ask us or whatever.
Well, I didn't even know you guys were having a Hangout until I saw in my email saying you guys are having a Hangout. So I went and checked, and I noticed that you had the Hangout open to join. So I said, what the heck?
Yeah. We'll probably try different ways. You know, maybe sometimes me and Tabby will just hash out the different ones, but it's fun to hear your response and see how people are responding to it, especially with Lee, the way he's passed on some articles and implemented them. That's motivational, to get some more hacks up and share some things. So, and maybe if you got a hack that you'd like to share, even if you don't want to write it up and submit it yourself as a guest author, let us know. I've got one I was going to share that I want to get up there and get it officially posted, but this is kind of, and I don't want to go into too much just because it can be a long discussion, but I remember from time to time as you, I graduated from the University of Utah, and when I was in college, it's kind of one of those schools, like any school in Utah, especially in the northern Utah, that is not a church-owned or endorsed school, but still there's a culture about it. There's lots of members there, but still there's a sense of this is more of a secular school, so let's not mention that we're LDS or whatever. And so I remember asking some people they'd mention something of, when I was in Zimbabwe, yada, yada. I'm like, wait a minute, why on earth are you in Zimbabwe? And they'd say, oh, well, I lived there for 2 years. And it's kind of silly. It's like, okay, nobody just goes to Zimbabwe and lives for 2 years. At least nobody from Utah, right? And so I just kind of baffles me. Why would the person say, I served my mission there? For one, most of the people that understand what missions are, and two, if they don't understand missions are, that opens a door and says, wait a minute, what's a mission? And then it starts a conversation. And one thing I did when before I was self-employed at work, I would always just have a Book of Mormon on my desk, and it would just be sitting there in plain sight. And I'd never approached anybody about it or whipped it out and forced it on anybody, but it was there. So as people came to my desk and asked me questions or things, they would see that, and then it gave an opportunity for a conversation. So it's a very simple, basic hack, but just by taking a Book of Mormon to your workplace and setting it on your desk and saying, this is who I am, ask me about it. It's almost like you're doing everything short of putting a sign there of saying, ask me about this book. So that's a hack that I want to get written up, and I think would be beneficial for others. But any ideas, Lee, that you've come across, or others of hacks that might be good, no matter how basic or simple they are?
Well, I've come across them, but I'll have to send them to you. I use them all the time, and especially with their family, clue them into things. They're all busy in their lives, and I'm retired, if you will, and but if you want to say that, 80 hours a week with Family Search now, but that's how it works, isn't it?
Yep.
But yeah, I'll be happy to send them to you. I'd try to try to tell you all of them right now. I don't have them together where I could go through them, but I just send them out as they happen and then forget about them again. So
yeah, never hesitate to send them to us, and we'd love to write them up and get them out there for us to share. So,
can you explain to me what you mean by hack?
No, that's it. You want to take that one, Tevye?
Sure.
Kind of a geeky term, right? Like nerd alert type term.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
In a good way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, and that's why you missed this, Sheila. But at the beginning, I mentioned that the original blog that we kind of were able to take over was called Mormon Hacker, and I was scared of the negative connotation of that. But really, hacking in computer language is just anytime you kind of go around the rules, anytime you go outside just the normal procedure for something. So somebody might build a program or a software or something themselves, and then maybe their client says, I need this specific feature, and they say, well, I didn't really build that in, but there might be a way I can hack it and make it work. And so it's kind of just saying like a shortcut or something like that. And so the term life hacking came up, I don't know, it's probably been close to a decade ago now, where they had studied some ultra productive geeks who were, programmers and whatever else, and they were really productive, and they'd figured out, these certain hacks, but they weren't hacks that happened in their computer coding. It was things they did in their life to make them so productive. And so life hacking is all about just kind of saying, are we really doing this the best and most efficient way, or do we just do it because that's the way everybody's always done it? And if the answer is we just do it because that's the way everybody's always done it, then maybe we can look at it and figure out a way to hack it and make it much more effective and give us some time, back for the efficiency that we do. Or whatever. So that's kind of my best way to say what life hacking is, I guess.
Kind of like thinking outside the box to make things better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but about everyday stuff instead of, some big creative idea. It's just the everyday things that make you more productive.
Okay, thank you. That makes a lot more sense.
And I would say that the biggest enemy to life hacking is tradition. And I think in the church we've experienced this a lot, where it almost gets to a point where a tradition is mistaken as doctrine, and it comes out that, like, wait, the handbook doesn't really say that, or that's really not in the scriptures. We've just been doing that. Like, we can do it a different way. You know, that is kind of the spirit of the blog, is to, we're not necessarily trying to tell you how to go around the rules or do things you know, undercover by any means, but just saying, hey, let's look at this a different way, and how can we approach this to make it more effective, and in turn, you know, build the kingdom in a different way that's more effective, so that we can get there quicker. So, anyways, well, cool. This has been good. It's been a lot of fun, and me and Tevi this week we were talking to say, hey, let's just do a hangout, jump in, and discuss some of these hacks we've had, and they're important to share because there's productivity that comes out of them. So, anyways, I think we've been on here about a half hour. That's probably good enough time, unless anybody else has a hack they want to share or anything else to say.
I've got just one hack, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's not a hack, and I'm representing what I work on. But if you have folks who are working on genealogy doing research, if they don't use the Family Search Wiki to help them find things, they're missing a gold mine out there. There's so much information there that it's just unbelievable. I've been involved in genealogy for over 50 years, and I use it every day to help me in my own research. And it's not like I'm inexperienced in research. And so it's just tremendous. If you can point folks that way, just get them to use it for their own, to help themselves find things. It's amazing.
Cool.
It won't give you the names of the people you're looking for, but it'll help you find the resources you're looking for and how to understand what you find.
Right on. We got to put that on the list, have you? To get that on the Mormon Life Hacker. So that's cool.
I think Jill Holmes, who used to post for us now and then, did include it in an article, but it wasn't just about that. So maybe we could do one that just features that.
Yeah.
Patrick, did you have anything you want to add? We haven't heard much from you.
No, I've still got that write-up to do for you that you asked about for tithing settlement. We actually got it done in 2 days for 80% of the ward.
What?
Yeah.
I'm like begging people, please just set an appointment. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, we had our secretary just basically sat down and said, hey, listen, we can get this done on a Saturday and a Sunday. We just open up our days, for 2 days. We tell our families we're going to be at church all day, and we just got it done. And we basically spent on Saturday it was 11 to 4, I believe, and then Sunday was about an hour before church, and then till about 8 p.m. after. Our church is from 9 to 12, and we just had stations. So we had station 1 was verifying your information, making sure there wasn't any things that need to be corrected, names, addresses, all that stuff. The second one was making sure they were on LDS.org. The third one was taking their picture and getting it online on the directory.
Yeah. So
that by the time we were done, we had about 95% of our family's pictures on the directory. So
awesome.
I'm the membership clerk. So for me, being able to see that face behind the name when someone says, "Hey, go get this from them," and I'm like, I don't know who that is. So I go look online, look at their picture, and I can go track them down. It helps me tremendously. But then the last one was go and check with the bishop, and that was that. And it went really smooth. I think we had 10-minute increments, and we just made sure the bishop was just in and out, and anything above and beyond tithing settlement was rescheduled for outside of these 2 days. So we were keeping on the bishop to make sure he didn't get into other stuff, obviously, because he likes to talk. So he'd get families in there, and
those bishops.
The executive secretary just every 5 minutes or so just go knock on the door, and just one family come out, another one would go in, and it worked like a charm. It was amazing.
And is that did you mention before it's a YSA ward, is that right?
No, this is a normal ward.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
There's no real normal ward.
Well, yeah.
Tradition. Cool, that's great, man. I gotta. This was my second year doing tithing, so it was better than the first. But I need to. I looked at that those links you sent over, and I need to dissect those for next year. So that's good. Cool. All right. Well, let's maybe call it a.
2 more tips, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
One is the tip is make sure that your email account that's tied to LDS accounts is always accurate. Now that we're going to family trees, you'll be getting notifications on all the records that you're following and trying to straighten out. If you don't have an accurate email account there, you will not get those notifications, and there will be changes that you won't like. In fact, you could lose access to stuff if you don't keep that current, which is only going to help you, Bishop, in your calling and everybody else that's associated with those callings. The other one is that I notice on the Lifehacker site you have the How to Create a Simple Genealogy Chart. That's great. We have some people in our ward who actually print those charts on signage, on banner signage for our folks. But one of the things I know, even in my situation, is there are errors in my ancestral record, even though I put the data there. Others have come in and they keep messing it up. I have one particular individual on the East Coast who the names are the same, and so they're arguing that their information is right, even though they have no sources, and mine's fully sourced, etc. So if people are looking at those charts and spending money, especially at this time of year for Christmas, to have those charts printed for their family, they need to confirm the data is right before, when they create the chart using that software, or they're going to have a chart with wrong data in it, and that'd be a real shame. We've seen that happen this week in our circle here in our ward, and the folks that are using it. So just a heads up on that.
Cool. That's great tips. Awesome. All right. Any other tips? We're good. Okay. Well, encourage you to continue to check out Mormon Lifehacker. Love to have you over on my blog as well, leadinglds.com. And I'm open to ideas there. And let's see, Lee, it's what's the wiki called again? Is it Family
Search Wiki? Yeah.
Family Search Wiki.
Wiki. Just go to wiki.familysearch.org and that'll take it to you. It'll resolve.
Cool. Patrick, you got a blog or anything to check out?
No.
Okay, Sheila, I know, but you're on Google Plus. The
only one I volunteer with. Can I put a plug in?
Yeah, sure.
It's a website I help run. I volunteer. It's called Daily Wow. DailyWow.org. If you ever see the Daily Wow it's a page that I also run here. So yeah.
Cool.
It uses snippets from the Ensign or other church leaders. So kind of fun.
Cool. All right.
I might mention my own personal one. I have famhist, famhist.us, or lineagekeeper.com. They'll all resolve the same place, or leadru.com all resolve the same place. Genealogy and genealogy-related blog posts.
Cool.
And I'll give you one tip before you leave.
Yeah.
When you start before you hit on air, use the Hangout toolbox.
Okay.
And then use the lower third. Like I'll show you.
Oh yeah, we were actually when we first started. We were looking for that. We were just like gave up and next time it'll be good to have our names up there and
things like that.
There you are. We have no doubt who you are now.
That's right. So
yeah, we need you here at the beginning, Sheila.
What? I should have been here, but when you have family recitals and whatnot.
Sure. You got to get out of the computer chair every once in a while. So
that's right.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Have a good night.
Good night.